Hello everybody, how are we doing? I'm very delighted to be part of this action that is going to take place in the next minutes or hours, and that is that I had the honor to analyze the last lot of Lichess 45 team match games. I'm really privileged to join very famous YouTubers such as Chess Explained, John Bartolomeo, and there were other Tony Rotella, and there were some other cool dudes who also contributed to this lovely initiative. And the guys on behalf of Lichess approached me about whether I would be interested in analyzing these games, and as I said, it's my honor and my privilege to do so. So here we come. Let's bring on the games. Let's see these beauties. I decided to analyze the games in a backward order, so I'm going from board 6 to 1 for a number of reasons, preferably mainly because I would like to leave the supposedly higher quality games towards the end, but also because this seems to be the easier way to tackle the issue. And really, if we look at it, because if I'm a chess coach from a chess lesson point of view, then you always go from the less complex to the more complicated stuff. So I'm trying to imitate that. I'm being a bit of a chess coach. Speaking of which, I do tend to be rather harsh with my students, and in fact I have earned a bit of a reputation for being a very straight shooter and a no-nonsense dude, and I do not really plan to differ from that while I'm doing these videos. So I would like to put a warning forward that I may be very blunt and honest, but I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. Now, speaking of the games, Mr. Pantz, I hope that he was wearing one, is playing white against Skillet, or Skillet if he's of French descent. And the opening is turning out to be a Semislav and then a Botvinnik. Just for the record, I would like to point out that those who like to play in an aggressive manner might prefer here to play e4, which is a pawn sacrifice called a Marshall Gambit, just like the one in the Ruy Lopez. And after this pawn sacrifice, white basically emerges with the two bishops, but the particular importance is this bishop that covers very important squares along this diagonal here, so white can build up some mate threats with queen d6, and of course there is a chance for black to grab another pawn, then which is then met by bishop f3, and after queen g6 there are long theoretical discussions about who is better and who is worse here. The pros and cons are very obvious. This is a very theoretical variation. You need to know a ton of theory, but at the same time it's a lot of fun. Anyhow, they opted for the somewhat more solid knight f3 that then turned into an equally crazy Botvinnik gambit, which, believe it or not, was championed first by world champion Mikhail Botvinnik, who was the first one who realized that there is a very big flexible potential and power in these four pawns versus these two down here, or if I really want to count, I can count the d4 pawn. But anyway, so he was the one who realized that it was actually a-okay to sack a pawn here in order to speed up development and keep this pawn phalanx intact. Now in this position, the theoretical continuation, of course, is e takes f6, which then is followed by bishop b7, g3, c5, d5, queen b6, bishop g2, and one of the most, if not the most complex position occurs from this opening. It has been analyzed to death, but even that is actually not correct to say, because up to date top grandmasters, and more importantly top computers, sadly, come up with novelties, new ideas in this line. It's a remarkably interesting and fascinating line, a lot of fun to play really, but you really have to know your theory to enter such variations. And in fact, throughout the whole course of these 6 games that I've already had a look at before I actually sat down to analyze them, I realized that players played a lot of openings that required immense theoretical knowledge, and on occasions I sort of had to ask myself whether they chess level and their general knowledge was really up to that stage where you play the botanic, because really as a coach I would not recommend to play the botanic as black again for anyone who is rated 2200 below FIDE, and even above is a massive call. But that's a completely different question, and really none of these guys asked me to be their coach for the rest of their life, so I'm just putting it out there as an opinion. Now in this position, knight e4 was played, which is a very bad blunder. It was actually not the time to put any more pressure on the f6 knight, simply because it's tactically not possible. Knight e4 is actually downright losing, and well done for Mr. Skillet, who figured out the refutation, or maybe he just knew theory here, but either way the credit is his. Queen a5 check, an excellent move, removing the queen from the pin, and after bishop d2 we have got this super duper clever pawn c3. I love this move. It's pretty awesome. A very unexpected thrust. The point is that if the pawn takes, then the bishop is no longer attacking the queen and the knight is free to go. Likewise, if knight takes, the knight can go pretty much anywhere except to d5. I don't know where I would go. Maybe just back home and then recuperate this way. And although we do ditch a fair few pawns here in the process, but eventually black emerges with an extra piece that should be perfectly good enough to win the game. So c3 had to be recaptured with the bishop, and that's where the real slap came into white's face by b4. And now we realize the problem, that black managed to get out of this pin while still attacking an extra white piece. So taking on here would allow black to take the bishop on c3. Knight captured, but it doesn't really make a difference because that's just a knight swap. The problem is that now white can't capture again, because then the bishop hangs. Bishop d2, knight d5, and this is when I tell my students normally that, dude, what happened? The game is over. First of all, why is this game lasting for another 20 moves, and why is the score not 0-1? So something must have gone very badly pear-shaped here from black's point of view, because black is a piece up and there is no obvious compensation. In fact, there is no compensation whatsoever here present for the piece. So from here on, we need to see and find what went wrong and how black could have improved his play. Now, don't get me wrong, on this level of chess and even well above, it is totally doable to lose a game like this without feeling like, oh my god, I just threw away the biggest advantage of my life. But regardless of that, we have to stick to the facts that black must have messed it up really hardcore. Okay, bishop a6 is a very good move. I really like it, because when we are ahead in material, we tend to like swapping pieces, and out of the two bishops, the white bishop on e2 is far more useful than the d2 one, because these two pawns are blocked on black, so that makes this bishop quite useless. Well, anyway, compared to e2 anyway. So castles takes, and here when I was looking at this, instinctively I wanted to move here. And it has to be the correct move, because we need to propose further swaps. The queen is awkwardly placed in that pin. On b5, not only does it offer a swap, but it also protects the weak c6 pawn, and it just makes the position feel like our pieces are cooperating and are meaningfully placed. Queen d8 is a move that would have never ever occurred to me in this position for a lot of reasons. The number one is that I hate to go backwards, and in fact 99 times out of 100 when you go back, don't do that. It's not gonna work for you. So we have got enough stuff that is undeveloped. It is totally unjustified to underdevelop yet another piece and actually to make another move with the queen, especially because in some lines we may even consider castling here, tucking the king away on b7. I mean, take this one for an example. If f7 is defended, and I'm just playing this move, I don't really think it's that good, but I need to have this one covered. Rook c1 makes total sense, and castles here. And after king b7, bishop e7, we have a fully developed army, and now we can get fancy with how we want to continue the game and which side of the board we want to decide the battle. But queen d8 is an utterly ugly move, and ugly moves, and that's another big hint for you, are more often than not bad. I don't know why Sesame Street is a friend of mine on Skype. Yeah, so don't do that, please. And yes, I do know that we wanted to swing across here, but the whole concept is false because here we are a piece down, but we are still sort of trying to diffuse this bomb that materializes in this limited initiative that white has. So it's misunderstanding the roles entirely because still we are trying to consolidate instead of trying to weave mating net plans, or basically just trying to come up with plans that are designed to checkmate our opponent in the next 5 moves. Ain't gonna happen. We are not ready for this. We have got all our main dudes at home, and we have got a queen that is currently not participating in the game at all. Consolidation. Play queen b5, castle, finish development, and then swing into action. Here after g3, followed by f4, f5, white would have had something that would have looked remotely like some sort of compensation, but definitely queen d8 in this structure looks like an absolute lemon. Like, I really would like to go back here and then queen b5. That's how badly I dislike this move. Okay, instead white responded with rook c1, which is a blunder because it falls for this double attack. And actually that's another typical phenomenon that I find a lot in my own students' games, that they play a bad move, it works out like that, and so they draw a conclusion that, okay, so this was a cool plan. Nah, it wasn't. It worked out because your opponent actually didn't realize what you were up to, and had they done that, it would have turned out to be very, very differently. But that is not a justification of the plan. Yeah, it worked out this way. Likewise, when you aim for the scholar's mate and you actually do score it, it's not because the scholar's mate is so brilliant, but because your opponent can't tell a chessboard from a cricket bat. So, yeah, the point is clear. It is still a poor plan, and g3 should have been played. h3, did that have to be? And by the way, if you wanted to be really subtle, you could even have started with f4, sort of tempting them into this, because after g3, we are covering the mate, and we are kicking the queen out. But maybe it's better if you just go, nah, thank you, don't come to h4, and then just go up there. Okay, now black is totally winning. Like, this is not even funny. Rook takes c6, and here's something remarkable happened, if I recall rightly. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When I see moves like this is when I go like, please, dear Lord, don't do that to me. Yeah, I can't imagine circumstances where this could be a good move ever. Ever, literally. Like, what on earth does this do? If you asked me to name 20 candidates moves here for black, this would be not one of them. First of all, we have a king stuck in the middle. We have undeveloped pieces. These are two so annoying things to face when you are commanding the black army, and I'm going to turn the board around. Imagine you are black here. If I was black here, I would be getting really, really irritated by the fact that my king is still stuck in the middle, and my bishop, after 22 moves, still hasn't moved a muscle. I mean, come on. So bishop g7, yeah, I don't even care about what white is up to at this stage. Hitting this pawn and opening up the opportunity to castle here too. If anyone would say that this is wrong, I'm going like, nah. I don't care if you are Magnus Carlsen or Komodo or a combination of the above. A developing move when your army is at home entirely can't be bad. On the other hand, this is a total lemon. Like, I don't understand the move for starters at all. Yeah, if it had been an over-the-board game, I would assume that they accidentally knocked the pawn over and then their opponent made them to make a move because it's a touch move. But being an online game, I mean, yes, I suppose it was to prevent queen b5, but really, like, was that really a burning issue? And I could have played here, and if queen b5, then I castle and laugh. So this is where we identify a problem, and first of all, it's not really a big problem, and second of all, we find the worst possible tool to actually deal with it. And it's priority issue too, because this is far less of a problem than the fact that I am actually not developed and not safe. And as very often you find in chess, a good move normally avoids or prevents these annoying looking threats some way or another. And that's an ultimate case for this here, that after queen b5 now I can just castle the heck out of this battery. And this move again looks like a complete lemon. All right. Sadly, so did a6. And I'm not even saying that it's a blunder because it's hanging. Who cares? Let it hang. Whatever. I mean, technically, I don't know if it actually is capturable because I may not have a perpetual check here. I actually do. Oh, no, I don't. Sorry. Knight c7. Okay, so actually I can't take a6 because the bishop is hanging. But that's totally beside the point because that's just a waste of a move. So basically this move is saying that, okay, you can have another go. And you can never ever play just like that. Rook c1. And now it's getting quite frustrating indeed that they can come in there. Bishop g7. Wish we had played that before. Rook took on a6. Alright. White is losing anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Just for the record, if check, then among many other things we could have just taken, and king d7. The rook is guarded, and then the e5 pawn is going to drop, as well as the b2. Not a happy scenario for white. So they took, and then we castled. Thank God. Okay, so now again we are back into the driving seat, all fine and dandy. Rook takes, rook takes, rook c4. Queen takes b2. I do not mind this move, but my priority would definitely have been this pawn, especially because it offers a queen swap. And no, I do not care about the fact that that pawn is hanging because I have got enough of that kind of dudes here. So if they take here, either take right away or probably eliminate the bishop first, then take here, and it's a crazy easy win of, yeah, no problems whatsoever to convert this endgame. And yeah, basically less pieces, less problems is a very good philosophy. That said, queen takes b2 is fine. It's just that we have to tread carefully now. Rook across, rook takes a2, still fine. Although once again we have to watch out for tactics, but I guess that after takes and check and king f8 and check, we just walk away. Check, check, takes and knight e7 finishes this very sad story for white. If bishop g5, then among the many winning moves that I can see, my favorite one would be either rook check or queen check. I can't decide which one is better. And then take this one with a check and then just cover the knight and win. So yeah, it looks like it was safe to take the pawns. I have no doubts that black calculated it all the way like I did. And here white played queen c4. And for the life of me, I don't understand this move. So once again, I don't know if it was time trouble or the players were chasing some false images of attack. I don't know. But the funny thing is that they mutually believed in each other's bluffs, because after queen c4, black decided not to pick this cherry here on d2 that I would have been rather keen on doing. Simply because queen c8 check is a complete bluff, and that check is another bluff. And after bishop h6, we are 25 pieces up, and we are threatening with mate in 2. G to the G, GG, the game is over. So, yeah, I mean, when your opponent leaves a piece on prey, you basically need to calculate very carefully, because taking it right away would be very foolish. But you also can't just assume that, oh yeah, they calculated it all the way and yeah, it's too much. And what you also can't do, and this is something that I do say a lot to my students, is that you judge this position on, I didn't like check. That's not a chess argument. That's something you say in a restaurant when you decide what to order and you say that you don't like schnitzel. It's okay. But in chess, there is no such thing as, I don't like this check. Why don't you like it? It looks scary. Yeah, like I care. Doesn't matter. It's either a threat or not. Chess in this regard is very black and white. So you calculate. You don't go like, I don't like the look of it. No, you go, I take, they check me, I get out of the check, their only check is here, I block it, and they run out of checks. Thank you very much, I will take your piece. It's as simple as that. Or, as the case may be, you calculate that after check, they have a perpetual check. They don't, but it could turn out to be the case. In which case, you perfectly correctly choose not to take the bishop based on the sound chess argument, which is calculation. And you go, okay, I go there, they go there, get up. Yeah, that line doesn't work, I can't do that. But I have a very strong feeling that the rejection of this was based on feelings and not on actual calculation. Instead we went chook, still totally winning. King here, chook, still totally winning. F4, and we play queen b8. Wow. That's the second time in this game, and as such I need to point out this as a tendency where black plays a horrendous queen move going back to the furthest possible on the board. In case we have forgotten that classic move here, ta-da! Queen d8 was a total lemon. I mean, okay, it had a plan, but overall it was a very, very poorly timed and designed move altogether and should not have even been considered. And now, 10, 15, 20 moves later, we repeat the same horrendous error. This queen could literally go back anywhere. Queen f6 is by far the easiest of all because it keeps an eye on the diagonal as well as covers the h4 square so that the rook check doesn't work. So why I'm saying it is because after this, now he can't go and check me there because my queen is covering it. G to the G again. So, and even if you were to retreat, I mean, once again, there is logic behind it, sadly, because of course no one would make such a move otherwise. He wanted to prevent this check. But the only problem here is that white's main threats are not based around this check. White's main threat is based on this pin and the vulnerability of these two pieces. Hence, queen f6. And once again, this strikes you as utterly ugly. It's just going back to the most passive possible square with a queen that was on a beautiful central square. It just goes against any chess instinct. Like a flashlight goes in off your head, goes off like, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, and you still convince yourself into it because it prevents this check. No, it's ugly and therefore it's bad. It works vice versa too, but more often than not you find that ugly moves are bad. Alright. Now after queen d4, sadly the tides have turned and now we are done. And I'm going to turn back the board now, oopsie daisies, because after all white won it, so let's have a look at it from white point of view at least for a little bit. So queen b8 has just been played, queen d4, and now due to the pin the bishop can't take the queen, and more importantly we are threatening with mate as well as taking that rook down there. The two can't be defended at the same time. Black is lost. f6 takes, king f7. It doesn't really matter what we do from this point on anymore as as black, but I don't really get the point of this move, because if you tell me that the point of this move is to get out of this pin, then I have to ask two questions back. One, can I exploit this pin as white? Because if not, then there is no point of getting out of it for the time being. Number two, do you want to move your bishop? And the answer is not really. Then again, probably it's not top priority to move this bishop. So what do I propose? Well, guess what? We have got a pass pawn on this board. That's bullshit. This is a move that poses problems. Objectively, it can be total trash. I don't know, but if I was white and someone pushed this pawn into my face, I would go like, oh, okay, there's still a bit of work to be done here because this pawn is about to become a queen in 2 more moves. Whereas if I play a move like this, then I go like, alright, bring it on, baby. The king was already rather shaky on g8. Now on f8, f7 it's even more exposed. So it's time for me to engage. And of course it means that the pawn is halted because it's my turn now, so you can't move it. And so it's less of a threat. Yeah, after b3 I'm curious how this game would have turned out. Because whilst white is winning here, it's anybody's game in my humble opinion on certain levels. Okay, king f7, queen d4. Back to centralizing the queen. b3 was played now, bishop c1. Good move. We need to regroup the bishop here where it's not only blocking the pawn on b3 but also exerts pressure on g7. Queen h8. The third and last nail in the coffin. Another move that I'm really badly struggling with understanding, because right now after bishop c1, if I asked the players both, but in particular black, what's white threatening with, they would have sweated blood to actually name a threat. I can't see one. What's white's next move gonna be? That's an easy answer. More than likely bishop b2. So black should have tailored his plan and his moves against the most likely bishop b2. Now, queen h8 actually forces me to play bishop b2, because any other case, f5 is actually going to hurt me a great deal. It is always hugely unwise to force your opponent into what they want to do anyway. And what's the point of that, right? We are antagonists here. We are supposed to work against the other's will. So playing queen h8 here is like, would you like to stab me in the heart somewhere here or here? Because I will turn my body that way so that you can kill me perfectly well. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. And again, it's an utterly ugly passive move. When you are down in material, things are going pear-shaped. It's looking like we are dying. You need to be able to create some sort of counterplay. You need to be kicking to show that you are still alive and you can create some threats. Bring this queen in wherever. I don't know. Put it on any square where it looks remotely threatening. Put it here. Prevents the check, puts it on a c file, occasionally can penetrate via c2. It just looks like a chess move. Okay, and if bishop here, we might swing out here and try to massage this weak spot here now. Well, why not? But queen h8, really? I mean, after bishop here, we are out of juice here. Now this pawn is going to be checked down. f5 is pending now because of the pin has been released. So f5 is a super annoying move to dislodge the knight on d5. It just collapsed in one single move. And yes, black is dead lost here. After queen h8, however, 10 times as dead as before. Choke, knight back, and bishop here. Even better actually than playing bishop b2 here. Check, check, bishop here, and black can't avoid now material loss because, yeah, this is just too much of a threat. If they played something like queen e8, then the prettiest win would have been bishop takes, queen takes, and then rook takes, exploiting the fact that the king is overloaded guarding both of these. Bishop f8 would have been still possible, but yeah, there's no way to survive this. It's just way too passive, and white can now win this pawn very easily. And after that, converting this with an extra exchange and an extra pawn is a basic task. That, however, didn't happen because black finally made his last blunder by f5, and after queen takes e7, the computer predicts a mate in 4, and I can only agree with that. So that's how board 6 ended the game. It was a fascinating battle. It was very interesting to see how the game turned back and forth. I would point out a couple of crucial moments before I finish this analysis. Number one was knight e4, which was a very, very bad blunder on white's behalf, probably due to lack of theoretical knowledge. You need to take f6 here, as per discussed before, and then g3, bishop g2 is the way to develop the rest of the army. Black played here really, really well, and in fact achieved an easily winning position due to this tactical trick that was based on the pawn push and then the other pawn push, which allowed black to get out of the pin whilst attacking a white piece. And now we very simply transfer this position into a borderline winning scenario where black needed to play only a few consolidating moves in order to stabilize the position and win with the extra piece. However, this is when things started to go astray a bit. Although, once again, white didn't respond to it correctly. But yeah, queen d8 was definitely not a clever idea. And now white has got some sort of initiative on the c file. Once again, a6 was another horrendous move that allowed quite a bit of play to be built up by white. And even here, we are super duper winning. So overall, I have to say that after black has won the piece, despite of the numerous mistakes, some of them are really major, despite of the fact that they had little effect and influence on the assessment of the position, like a6 was a complete lemon, black is still winning. So if we ask where did it really go away from black, right here. And once again, I'm only guessing that black didn't calculate this properly out of laziness rather than out of decision, because it is well within the scope of a 1600 to see that after queen d2, queen c8, these checks will run out. So the only possible scenario I can imagine is that black felt like he didn't want to allow that check at all, regardless of what else he could have done. And so he went for check, which was still a-okay, and the position is still winning. And then we went again for the worst possible queen move, and after that, yeah, white played the clever queen d4, exposing the bishop on g7 and the rook on a1. And chess is hard life, guys. So yeah, when you make mistakes, you go home sad. So that is an important one to remember, especially if you are the one who made the last mistake. And white converted this with reasonable ease, although once again black still cooperated here to the white victory. But overall, I have to say that from here on, there was not much to be done to save the game. Objectively speaking, it's over here. So I hope you guys like the analysis. I'm going to try to upload these 6 games in 6 consecutive days, but that said, I may not be able to do one on Thursday and Friday in the next 2 days, but definitely more than one on the weekend. So within a week these videos will be uploaded, and hopefully the standard of my analysis is going to improve significantly, so that there will be more and more enjoyable and learnable content out there. But that was the first video, and once again I would like to thank the Lichess guys as well as the players who I severely verbally abused during this analysis, for allowing me to do so and to contribute hopefully for their chess development, because the idea of course was that this rather harsh and cruel analysis is going to contribute to their chess knowledge and chess improvement. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I will be back with the remaining 5 very soon. Thank you. Bye.